Sometimes birds begin to behave, to put it mildly, strangely. They begin to pluck their feathers, begin to bite, shout loudly, behave aggressively, and even show signs of mental disorders. All these are just some manifestations of negative behavior. Those who have encountered such manifestations can add excessive aggressiveness of birds, capable of scaring anyone who is within its reach, not excluding the owner. In addition, constant screaming can deprive even pronounced phlegmatic people of peace. Plucking its feathers, the bird turns from a home decoration into a walking ham, and the phobias that have arisen can make it perceive even its owners as a source of mortal danger. Often all this leads to the fact that the companion bird remains homeless. You cannot bring the birds to stress, otherwise they may be left without feathers. As a rule, the reason for the development of negative manifestations is either unwillingness or inability of the owner to meet the basic needs of a feathered pet. First of all, he needs to understand that the bird needs a cozy house with a reliable shelter, water, food, and communication with its beloved owner. If she has all this, deviations in her behavior are unlikely, and if they manifest, it will be much easier to correct or at least control them. Cell size. The first thing that should be discussed is the size of the cage in which the pet will live. Too tight a cage is one of the main causes of problematic behavior. Yes, it is worth admitting that large cages cost a lot of money, sometimes several thousand rubles, but these costs are never in vain. A spacious cage will give the bird the opportunity to stretch its wings and swing them freely without damaging them on the bars. You should immediately prepare for the fact that the cage that was bought for the chick will become small for him after 3 years. This is quite natural, since the chick is developing and needs more space than in childhood. Therefore, it is worth remembering the rule right away, according to which the minimum height, length and width of the cage should be at least 1.5 times larger than the wingspan of an adult. Cell location. In order for the vital activity of the bird to proceed without complications, the choice of the place where the cage will be located is of great importance. To do this, it is important to know the preferences that are characteristic of a particular species/breed of birds. Some of them are extremely sociable, and it is very important for them to be in the center of events. Others, on the contrary, are too excitable and for this reason need a separate and quiet room. Therefore, other people should periodically enter such a room so that the pet does not feel lonely. Knowing the breed of the bird, it is important to consider whether complete solitude suits her or she needs society. If the bird is prone to stress and phobias, then you can try to put the cage with one side to the wall. You can also try to arrange a shelter directly in the cage. Both options can reduce the manifestations of phobias and stress. Often, thanks to such tricks, birds stop being afraid of anything at all and completely restore the shaken mental balance. But it is not recommended to put a cage by the window, or even on the window, because there the bird will be constantly under stress, which will be caused mainly by the threat of attack by potential predators. It is worth remembering that birds do not have such faith in the protective power of cage bars as humans. Cage height. Researchers have long drawn attention to the fact that there is a clear connection between the rank that a bird has in a flock, no matter bird or human, and the height of the place where it is located. It is important to remember that if a bird is at the level of a person's head or shoulders, it will feel higher in rank than him. To prevent such an attitude towards yourself, you need to either lower the cage a little lower, or rearrange the pole on which the bird is sitting, or change the place for the playground, which is usually located on the cage. If there is no way to do this, you can simply put a stool next to the cage. It is not necessary to install perches and a cage with a bird above the height of a person, so that the feather does not feel more significant. This move can be especially valuable for those owners in whose house there are children. It is not recommended to put a cage on the floor. And not only because it can lower the status of your pet literally below the baseboard, but also because a bird lowered to the floor is very nervous, because it is almost impossible to avoid an attack by predators at such a height. And do not console yourself with thoughts that there are no predators in the house. The fear of a bird is not rational, but instinctive. Of course, the image of a dashing pirate, such as John Silver, is very impressive, but practice suggests that you should not put birds on your shoulders. This is especially true for adults and large parrots. The beak of these birds is quite a formidable weapon, and it is sitting on the shoulder that they can inflict the most serious wounds on their owner: ears, lips, nose, or, most terrible of all, eyes. Even a modest budgie can blind a person, let alone mighty macaws or cockatoos. At the same time, the bird can bite the owner both intentionally and unintentionally, for example, trying to just grab a tighter grip. Another important factor provoking problematic behavior in birds is boredom. For those birds who have nothing to do, there is only one way left: to find entertainment on their own. Therefore, if all the household members are busy at work or at school for 8 to 10 hours, they need to occupy their pet for this time with something that would give an outlet to his physical energy and curiosity. Many owners try to teach their birds to sit on their shoulders, but such maneuvers can be fraught. Birds living in their natural environment spend a lot of time feeding and searching for food, communicating with a partner, and caring for their plumage. Therefore, in order to compensate for the lack of most of the natural activities for the bird, you should buy all kinds of toys for the pet, which should be changed every few days. If you do not do this, they will bore the bird. Especially inventive owners put treats in their favorite toys. In addition, you can give the bird food in large chunks, so that it does not immediately eat them, but works on grinding them for a while. Perhaps the most difficult thing in this regard will be with parrots. The fact is that these birds have a very developed intelligence, and in order to give vent to their curiosity and energy, the owner will have to work hard. Sleep in birds' many feathered companions are of tropical origin. The night in these latitudes lasts 10 to 11 hours throughout the year. Therefore, it is very important to provide an adult bird with a night, at least 10-hour rest. The easiest way to do this is by placing a bird cage in a dark and quiet room. Birds also need rest and tranquility for a while. In the morning, it will need to be returned to the common room so that the bird can freely communicate with its family members, and for the bird, your family is her family. As an alternative to the proposed method, you can leave a separate cell in a dark room, and place another in a common room. I must say that the normal behavior of birds can cause people some inconvenience. For example, when a dog barks or digs, it is unlikely that anyone will be happy. Similarly, few people like it when cats start scratching or climbing on the upper shelves, dropping things from them that should not have been dropped. Parrots also have such an unpleasant trait, and it consists in the fact that they gnaw almost everything they see. And this can become a real problem, especially if it is a large parrot that can smash even solid wood into splinters. However, in the case of parrots, it is perhaps naive to expect that they will give up their craving for destruction. It is necessary from the very first days of staying in the house to teach the bird to behave culturally. If the bird stubbornly shows signs of negative behavior, you should seek help from an animal psychology specialist, or at least a veterinarian. In most cases, in order to correct the behavior of the bird, first of all, the owner himself has to correct the behavior. Sometimes such seemingly insignificant issues as the place where the bird is fed or the time at which it is released from the cage and returned back can affect the status of the owner in the eyes of the bird and form the appropriate behavior. If the owner of the feathered companion is not lazy and learns all these wisdom, he will be able to enjoy the company of a well-mannered, happy and healthy companion.